Sorry. Good morning, everyone. So I have a thought for a pen show seminar that would be fun, I think. Fun, instructive, insightful, and fun. And fun. Imaginative, creative, fun. There are many very good seminars at pen shows which teach calligraphy, um, certain kind of script. All of that's really, really good if you want to learn how to write a particular kind of script. I think my thought on that is it's a little bit restrictive, and maybe not as much fun. You might learn a lot, and you might take home what you've learned and turn it into a great calligrapher, which is perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. I think, though, my love of pens and love of handwriting and um, other people's handwriting is something that I'd like to share with others, and maybe they can go home with a different set of skills or a different set of ideas. So part of my expertise is I've been quite often hired by advertising companies and TV or movie studios to provide written letter documents that they would show on the screen, and they would have me write in the style of or imitate the writing of a particular author or inventor. Often I have to dumb it down a little bit to make it more legible on the screen so people can read the word that is written from the back row. And I don't mean to take Thomas Webb's note here that he gave me. This is how he writes, and I can see this very clearly. It may not be what I would use in a movie. I might need to make those P's a little bit more full and rounded. I might have to cross my T over the T and dot my I above the I rather than maybe over yonder way. But anyway, so here's a guest book that I have that a pen collector friend of mine gave me that shows all these beautiful different handwritings. We have this vertical writing here, a Rosamund Allen from Boston, Mass. Look at how she makes her B's. The person from Mars, M-A-R-S, USA. Where's Mars, USA, I wonder? Massachusetts, USA. Boston, Mass. Okay, so another Bostonian. Hilda Sanderson, she writes vertically. This person writes sort of angularly. Some people write very rounded. Some people print, they don't write. Sometimes their X heights are very low. Some are higher. Look at this one, this little squiggly stuff. It's really, really cool. All these different ways of using a pen to make a letter. And we can, without too much difficulty, we can read them. Here's Heidi, Hedi, H-E-D-I, Hedi Halle from Switzerland, from Schweiz. This person writes with a backhand, maybe is left-handed. I don't know. But anyway, I thought what would be fun would be to put that book away and have a seminar where I'd have maybe a table of 4 or 6 people. And at that table, I would have, let's say, 6 different pens that I would select that would be a variety of pens. And then I would have maybe each person with their own handwriting write, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog in each of those, with each of those pens, just so they have a sense of what the pens are like. Some might have a broad nib, some might have a fine nib, some might have a flexible nib. I'll have people at the table that are left-handed. They're going to write differently than the people that are right-handed. So anyway, they'll each have a piece of paper, or I haven't figured out exactly how this is going to work. Maybe I'll have separate pieces of paper where each person will write their line so we can compare the lines. Maybe that's how I'll make it work. But the plan is that you come to the seminar with your own handwriting, and rather than teaching you the copperplate way of making an S, or the copperplate way of making a B, or whatever you learn at a seminar that's about calligraphy, which is all well and good, nothing wrong with any of that. Maybe what I'll do is I'll have you put on a different persona. How would you write this sentence if you were an aggressive young man? Angry, aggressive young man. How would you write this sentence? How would you write it if you were that same exact sentence, maybe using the same exact pen, but maybe you picking a different pen? How would you write it if you were a shy young lady? How would you make your letters? And this is where you put on your thinking cap. There's no right answer, but there's a way where you can, my bouncy cameras, I'm sorry about that. I'll try not to gesticulate to make my camera as bouncy. But how would you alter your handwriting to match your mood? And I thought what I would do is pick 6 characters. And I thought, and I'll have 6 pens, 6 characters, and I'll come up with 6 sentences, perhaps. Or maybe I'll ask the people to write their own sentence. And I thought, well, what characters will I use? And I thought, well, maybe I'll use characters from Downton Abbey. But the problem is, we all know, having watched that show, that we all know too much about what Thomas the waiter was like, and how much Matthew the nephew was like, or cousin, whatever he was. And maybe that's asking for too much. So I thought, well, I'll pick other people that we know, but we don't have a set idea of what they're like. So my brain thought immediately of the game Clue, which had these characters. This is the game I played when I was a kid. This is from the 70s, I think. Miss Scarlet, Mrs. White, Miss Peacock, Colonel Mustard, Professor Plum, and Mr. Green. Now, we might imagine Professor Plum is the absent-minded professor type. We might imagine Colonel Mustard as the brash, snobbish, bumbly, grumbly man at the men's club. We might imagine Mr. Green as being, I don't know how we imagine him to be, but we all can think of characters that go along with the names. And we can also think about how they wrote their name, not necessarily what they would write. Maybe we can imagine that too, but we have a sense, or can add a personality to these characters. In finding this image online, I found other images of this from the same game. The original game was from England and it was called Cluedo, and it had more characters than we have in the American version. And Mr. Green was Reverend Green. All the rest are the same. Here they show them on top of their little counters that you would move around the board, just so you knew what color Mrs. White was if you were too stupid to remember that Mrs. And then they also made, here's another version, an older version. This is actually older than this one. And this might be the oldest. A more recent one are these, where they show actual pictures, which I don't like nearly as much as having the ability to use your imagination. And look, Mrs. White here has the candlestick, the murder weapon in her hand. I mean, what would the modern murder weapons be? The AK-47, the car bomb in the conservatory. So anyway, the idea is each table, I'll make it a round table, and there'll be, 4 people sitting at it. And then I'll hand out a paper, a page to each one of these, and maybe the page will have above it the sentence I would like them to write. And maybe it'll be the sentence as if written by Mrs. White. So this person will, maybe to speed it up, maybe I'll have 4 different quotes as written by different people. And this person, let's say this is you, and this is me. And here the quote is, "I can't possibly make it to afternoon tea, signed Miss Scarlet," or whatever the line is. So I'll write how she would write. What personality am I going to give her? And what pen of the 6 pens that are here, which pen will I take to write this? Will I write it, very lightly like this? Or will I write it angularly like this? Is Colonel Mustard going to be angular? Is Professor Plum going to be exact? Professor Plum. How will he write his name? How will he write it differently than Miss Scarlet? So and then when I'm done with my writing this comment, I'll pass it clockwise or anti-clockwise to the next person. They'll write their version of this quote underneath mine. And at the end, we'll have 4 different versions of the same sentence written with different handwriting. And I think it'll be fun. I think it'll teach, what will it teach? What will you go home with? The idea that you can be a forger, maybe. The idea that you can put yourself into someone else, so you can empathize with someone. That's something that we don't know how to do anymore, because it's being empathetic is to be woke, and we're not supposed to be woke anymore. We're just supposed to be stupid. So, but the idea is to get in the brain of a character a little bit. And, maybe at the end of this exercise, I'll ask people to write the following sentence. Tomorrow you die. And because one of these is a murderer, remember, in our game. And maybe that'll be an interesting way to see how you would take Mrs. Scarlet's handwriting. You already told me how she wrote, because I have proof of that. It's right over here. You wrote Miss Scarlet in this way. So how do you now write in her handwriting? How do you write tomorrow you will die? And I think, I mean, if I, Pierre Gustafson, was going to be wanting so desperately to murder someone, I'm sure that I would not use my regular handwriting to send them a warning. I might underline it. I might do all sorts of things. So anyway, that's the idea. And I'm going to watch, write your quotes now, and I'll see if I can respond to some of them. I like the idea, and I want to test this out with some of you people, some of my audience. Maybe 3 or 4 can try this out with me live here, just to see if it's fun. I hope it's going to be fun, more fun than not, and I hope that it will be helpful, maybe to you, in experimenting with your own handwriting. I mean, much of any workshop that has to do with calligraphy or penmanship is to improve your handwriting. And I think this exercise is as good as any in doing that. You might discover that writing vertically with a stub nib is easier for you to read your own handwriting than writing with a slant. Maybe you'll learn by writing Colonel Mustard in Colonel Mustard's handwriting. This works better for you than writing with Miss Scarlet's handwriting. So I think that all of this might be fun. So that's my thought. And so now Kim is saying that he doesn't have the writing skills to do this, and he hasn't found his own handwriting style, let alone making up or imagining someone else's. Well, sometimes it's easier to imagine someone else's handwriting than it is to do your own. Let's say you're shy, like I am, and you are going to a party that has a bunch of people that you haven't met. Maybe it's easier to put on a hat, put on a personality, and go in and start talking. And you might find it's a way to interact with people because you're not showing your own self, perhaps. Anyway, I think that this would be fun. In addition to what I'm telling you now, this has only been 18 minutes, is I might have you, before we start the game with the characters, I might say, now write the same, just in your own handwriting, write what you just wrote using a different pen. Okay, see how that's different. Okay, now write what you wrote, but write it twice as big, or write it half as big. And these little ways of tweaking your own handwriting will show you that you have more range. You don't have to write the same way that you think you have to write. You can write differently. Well, again, so Kim is saying I might be able to copy someone else's, but invent someone's handwriting is a whole different thing. Well, that's sort of the fun part of this. Now, maybe if you are sitting at this table, you might say, I want to go last. I want to see what other people write first, and maybe you'll forge their handwriting. You'll take their handwriting and you'll sort of see if you can make your hand move in that direction. You'll probably also see, I mean, I don't want to show anyone else's stuff. I don't want people to imitate necessarily. I'd rather have them use their own thought processes to come up with a plan. But I think the idea of I don't know where I was going to go with that sentence. I'm sorry. I mean, the game is very wide open. The only thing I'm going to do is initially come up with a sentence for each of these people to write that you will copy or use. Now that might be too much. I mean, why should Colonel Mustard be the grumpy old conservative man? Why can't that be Miss Scarlet? Miss Scarlet could be the person writing the angry letter to the editor of the London Times. It doesn't have to be him. So, but I think in this particular instance, it doesn't hurt to maybe come up with a stereotypical line that each of these people could say. Maybe that'll be fine for my purposes. Does anyone else have any thoughts about this idea? Would this be a waste of time? Another thing you'll learn, though, by coming to this seminar is each table will have 6 or so different pens that will specifically have different nibs on them, so that you'll have an opportunity to try out 6 different nibs, which you may not do as easily or under controlled circumstances at a pen show. You're distracted by all the other pens. Maybe just having 6 will focus your attention a bit. So I think when you're done with this seminar, even if you just by playing with these 6 pens, you'll be able to go back into the pen show and find the pen you want, the one that you think is really good. Maybe by doing this exercise, you'll learn that you really love a stub-nibbed pen. And it's not going to change your handwriting at all, but you'll know that you want a stub-nibbed pen. So that's a possibility. That's something you may learn that you didn't know before. But I also think learning that your hand can move in a direction that you don't expect it to is important. So if I insisted you, with a particular character, Colonel Mustard, you write vertically, and everyone writes vertically, you might learn something about that kind of writing if you are instructed. See, I don't want to push it too much. I just want to have you get the idea that you can do something different than you think you can. And that's sort of what all penmanship classes are. You're taught to make an S look like that, with the downstroke and the whatever and the shape of this curve. But I'm saying that you don't have to do that. You can make a B any way you want. Just make it differently than you made it 10 minutes ago when you did it on the other piece of paper. We're changing. You're experimenting with all of the notes on the piano. You're not just typing with or playing with this much. You can use all 88 keys. You can have a lot more fun exploring things. It may not change your handwriting one bit, but I bet it will. I bet it would. Well, there could be 4 people at a table. There could be 6. I thought that with the 6 characters, I'd have 6 pens. But I could just have 1 pen. Could all be 1 pen. Could be a ballpoint pen, for that matter. It's more. But I just thought that let's try to. It might be easier to play this game if it was 1 pen. But I don't think it would be as much fun. I think it's fun to be able to learn about all of the differences that each pen will give you. Well, you have been writing all your life. Kim said, I think it's an advanced classes for people who have been writing all their lives, not like me. I suspect you have been writing all your life, and you have a particular handwriting. And so I do think that people are going to come to this table, this exercise with enough information that they already have in their toolbox that they can play this game. Now, it may not be a game that everyone wants, but I think it might be a fun exercise. Does anyone else have any commentary here? KB, what are your thoughts? And I'll try this out. I'll pick 4 people. I'm sorry to laugh at your dyslexia. You said no, but you've gone out of your way not to write. Well, that's an interesting starting point, and I suspect that there are ways that people that teach those that have dyslexia how to write, they probably have lessons that they've discovered work in some cases for people. I'm a little dyslexic. My little brother is quite dyslexic, and he found it very difficult to read. And often as he was reading something, he would look at the word that was next, and he would see enough of it and then come up with a word that he already knew. And it had nothing to do with the word that he was going to write, that he was supposed to read. He just lazily came up with the word elevator rather than election or whatever the word was. He was sort of a sloppy reader like that, and I'm a sloppy reader. I'm an awful reader. I'm trying to think of what else this might teach. Well, certainly how to pick a pen that you like. That's the easiest thing that you'll come up with by the end of this. I think another thing could be you might discover that by writing a little bit slower, paying attention if you're writing with big curvy letters to match your idea of how Miss Scarlet might write, that you'll say by just moving a little bit slower, my handwriting is improved. So maybe I should write a little bit slower when I'm writing. There, you may learn a lot. You may learn absolutely nothing. Um, so, but I'll try this out live with 3 or 4 other people side by side, and we'll try it out and see if it's any fun. I don't want it to be a struggle. I don't want people to hyperventilate and run out of the room screaming. I want people to laugh and giggle and look at each other's handwriting and maybe saying, this one at our table, John made the best Miss Scarlet. That's the perfect handwriting for that character to use to write that particular statement. And I think it would be fun. So that's my thought. Please write your responses below. And if you would like to join me live and be a guinea pig for this project, let me know as well. And maybe we can schedule a time when the 4 or 5 of us can be at the same room, at the same time in front of a table with some pens. And I'd have each of you bring maybe 2 pens, maybe just two pens with different nibs. Maybe that's all we need for this test. And I'll come up with sentences that we'll use to go along with our characters. And they'll be stereotypical sentences. I will probably have Colonel Mustard be a conservative, grumbly old man, and I'll have Professor Plum being, the sentence that he will write will perhaps be quite erudite, maybe. Mr. Green, I might make him be entirely vapid. Can't wait to get on the pony again. What? He might say. Miss Scarlet, maybe she'll be, maybe she'll think that she's the best thing that ever happened. And do I want to make her a dumb blonde? I mean, there are dumb blondes out there. There are dumb brunettes too. I'll try to come up with different characters for each of these people. Now, again, for anyone named Plum out there in the real world, if I insult you somehow, I'm sorry about that. That's just what's going to happen. I'm just making these things up. So we'll see. I think it'll be fun. I've done this once in the real world about 20 years ago or longer, and I didn't work it the same way that I'm doing it here, but I did have a group of 20 or 30 people in a room. They were all document examiners, people that look at documents to discover if they're forged or if they've been altered. They're sort of scientists. They work with chemicals. It was an interesting seminar I was invited to go to, and it was interesting seeing each of their handwriting. And they did try lots of different pens. And I think what I did is I had maybe 12 different pieces of paper, each with a different pen, and everyone wrote with each of the 12 pens. And yes, their handwriting looked different, but some of them had more fun with some of the pens than others. Some really got a kick out of using a particular kind of nib. So that was kind of fun. So does anyone else that's watching have anything to say regarding this exercise? And if you think it's a stupid idea that I shouldn't do, you can write that down too. I may not pay attention to it. No, I will pay attention to it. If everyone thinks it's a stupid idea, I'll still try it out with our guinea pigs to see if it does work. But there might be other suggestions that you have that might help me fine tune this a bit. Hey, Scraff, how are you, Robert? I've seen a lot of your handwriting, the people that I've broadcast live with. I've seen how many of you write, and many of you have gotten into using fountain pens for the specific purpose of being able to write prettily, to make their letters look pretty, and that's great. I think that there are so many ways to make lettering pretty that you don't have to use use one way of doing it. There are other ways that you can sort of adapt your handwriting to make you more happy with it and to make it more legible. Hey, Levin, how are you? Levin Wolf. I don't remember seeing your name before, Levin. Have I had you live on my camera before, Levin? I just bought 3 brand new bottles of Waterman Black, and do you think I could remember to put the cap back on? The answer is no. You were here with Todd and Marilyn once, okay. You were too shy. Well, this game, this exercise will make you not shy. It's aimed to make you not shy. Oh, hi, Todd. I think it'd be interesting. I think you, Todd Merrill, would be particularly interesting. Your handwriting is so, I was going to say so unique, which is not correct. Your handwriting is uniquely yours, and one of the reasons that it's so interesting is you shift gears between printed forms and script forms, and it almost seems you do it without rhyme or reason. Now, if I saw a notebook and studied it to any degree, I probably would learn that maybe whenever you make a W, you make a printed W and you throw your serifs on it rather than ever making a script W. But you do, there are things that you do quite often. You're very much a horizontal swashbuckler. You love making those horizontal lines and those little paragraphs underneath that I think are fun. But how would you personally, Todd Merrill, write if you were tasked by MGM to come up with the following sentence: "I will kill you tomorrow. Tomorrow you die," and you were to write it in each of these people's handwriting, clearly they wouldn't all look alike. Because in the movie version of the game, you'd see, everyone's written this note to the dead person. That doesn't help us along, does it, Poirot? I mean, it's like Agatha Christie, everyone in the fucking TV show or the book has a reason to kill the guy that is killed. So there's enough to go around. So I think the idea is, though, that Todd Merrill, how you would write Mr. Green, writing that, and Miss Scarlet. Well, again, I think it would be a fun thing to do with a lot of people, and I think Todd Merrill's handwriting is so. I've only seen him write in one style, essentially, and watch his videos to see the style he writes in. Other people that I've drawn with and written with do write, or they can write in different styles, and they're practicing their script in one style, and they're Spencerian in another style, another sentence, and they're trying something. They're writing with the Chancery script in a different time because they're learning different typography styles. That's not really handwriting. That's writing in calligraphy. I want this example to look sort of like handwriting, to look more natural than just perfect letter forms. That's sort of the idea here, is to, again, going back to this book, all of the people that were writing in this book probably wanted their message to be readable, legible, especially maybe when they're writing their name. They're not writing their signature. This is not how anyone wrote their signature, probably, but this is how they wrote their name in the registry book. So you want to have it be a little bit. Now, how are there two Eleanors? These must have been like clones of each other. Eleanor Ramsky from somewhere, and Eleanor E. Simpson from Norfolk. What is this? And they all showed up in April 1926. Gertrude Simpson. So here's Eleanor and Gertrude. They are maybe sisters. No, they're from. I suspect these are siblings, or mother and daughter. Anyway, they're being a little bit more legible, I think, when they're writing here than when they are, writing here. At some point, you sort of just use your own handwriting. Anyway, I think it'll be a fun idea. From Maryland. Could have been Maryland. I've lost that page already. Scraff, sorry. Scraff, would you like to play this game with me? Would you like to be one of my guinea pigs? Todd would like to, I know. I think I could, well, the game of trying to come up with how each of these characters might write a sentence differently than each other. So you, with your hand, with your own hand and your own pens, you'll write you'll use these characters as a basis to come up with handwriting that you think might match their character, whatever that character is. So you have to put on your creative thinking cap, and you have to make them different from one another. Presumably you will make them different than your own handwriting. I know that I can't change your handwriting in a 10-minute seminar, but I think it'll be an interesting exercise. Well, your handwriting doesn't have to be the best. And the idea is, it's not your handwriting, Scraff. It's Miss Peacock's handwriting, or Mrs. White's handwriting, or Mr. Green's handwriting. The original game was a British game, and Mr. Green was a Reverend. Reverend Green. And according to one of my viewers, the original British game had 2 more characters in it as well. So, but we're going to deal with 6. I don't know when it was invented. It was originally called Cluedo, Cluedo, and the game that I grew up with was called Clue, and it had these characters. There were 6 suspects, there were 6 murder weapons, and there were 6 rooms that the murder happened. And at the end, you would ask questions of each other. Each of us had cards in our hand. One of them might be the wrench, or the candlestick, or the revolver, or the rope, the noose. And there was always in the center of the game, there was a little envelope that had 1 weapon, 1 suspect, 1 room. And we had to, by asking the other players what they had in their hand, you'd say, Pierre, do you have the rope? And if I had the rope, I'd have to show them. Or they would say, Pierre, I think Miss Scarlet used the rope in the conservatory. And if I had any one of those cards, I would show them that card, only them that card. So they knew that that card, whether it was the rope or Miss Scarlet or the conservatory, could not be where the murder happened. And it wouldn't be Miss Scarlet that was dead, because Miss Scarlet I have in my hand. So again, I think the way this game worked is you had to have, could 6 people play this game? I don't know whether 6 people could. Maybe only 5, because someone had to be dead. So anyway, yeah, I think the idea is, though, I'm just picking this group of characters because we have a vague idea of what their personality might be like based on our playing this game. And it might not even be personality. We just know that Colonel Mustard was yellow and had a pith helmet. But if I saw someone walking down the street with a pith helmet and a yellow jacket, I would immediately imagine what his personality is like without having him even open taking his pipe out of his face and saying something. I would immediately. The corpse. Yes, the corpse was a player. One of these people was in fact dead. So in the cards that I had in my hand, I think we each had maybe just 3 cards in our hand. The dead person would not be among the people that were playing. I think maybe only how could 6 people play this game? Maybe 6 people could play the game. I don't know how that worked. I'll have to read the directions again. But I think 6 people could play the game. That can't be right. You can't have 6 people play this game. It seems to me we tried playing this game with more people than we're supposed to use, but I don't know how we could have played it with the cards we had. 6 cards, 6 people, but it seems to me that you could not play the game with 6 people unless you can't do it. I have to read the directions, but anyway, the idea is for my seminar is how to use your creativity, the pens that are in your hand to write. Let's say I'm going to write the word hello. Hello you, hello darling. Let's say I'm going to write hello darling in each of these characters. I'm just going to use one pen because I'm lazy. So Miss Scarlet, I'm going to pretend that she's a debutante and about to be put on stage at the debutante ball. And she's very pretty, and she has very pretty handwriting. And she's a little bit showy. Hello, darling. Darling. That's how she would write. Mrs. White. Now, she's shown as a cook, and I suspect that she's always very busy doing something. She doesn't have time for all of this scribbly bits. So she's going to write, God, hello, darling. Hello, darling. This is, I've already decided this game is really hard, this exercise, but I think it might be fun. Mrs. Peacock, well, she's a Grand Dame Deluxe, and she has bridge tournaments and fetes, village fetes to organize. She's already too wealthy to impress anyone, so she's very matter of fact. She sort of knows what needs to be done. She's writing to the vicar. She's writing to the headmaster of the school to get the grounds mown and everything set up for the village fete. So she's on a mission. So, hello, darling. That's how she would write. Hello, darling. Maybe. Colonel Mustard. Well, he's stuck in his ways. He's grumbly. He mumbles, and his handwriting mumbles as well. pieces of his lung fall out. God, I'm sorry about that. He's tough. I'm really sorry about this. Professor Plum, I don't know whether any of these people other than Miss Scarlett would write "Hello, darling," but what would Professor Plum be doing? I have a feeling he'd print, just because his handwriting, when he's doing his nuclear fission experiments, he needs to print. He has to be a little bit more exact. Hello, darling. Maybe more like an architect would write. Maybe that's how he'd write. So Mr. Green, that leaves Mr. Green. How would he say hello, darling? Well, what kind of personality is Mr. Green? With his +4s and his smoking jacket and his long cigarette holder. I wonder how Noel Coward writes. That's how he would write. Look up Noel Coward handwriting. I don't know if he's an artist. I don't think he's, I mean, he could be an artist, but let's just see Noel Coward. I don't think he's a playwright like Noel Coward was, but I think he has this persona. Noel Coward writes plays about Mr. Green, the Mr. Greens of the world. So he probably has really big capital letters. Hello, darling. Let's see. Hello, darling. See, look at I can't hide my handwriting. The same. Noel's handwriting was surprisingly simple. It is amazing seeing different people's signatures and their handwriting. Now, how they wrote on the 8x10 glossy they sent out to their fans is different than how they would write their play, but it is interesting to see. So I'm imagining that each person in this seminar might have a piece of paper that looks the same as this, except what they're going to write is "Tomorrow you die." That'll be the punchline of this exercise, is using the handwriting that you used earlier in today's episode. Now you write the word "Tomorrow you die." And of course your handwriting will be different. It'll be aggressive and angular and full of hate. Maybe you underline the word you, or maybe you underline the word die, or maybe tomorrow you die, because I've written you all these other notes for the last week and a half. You die on Friday. Well, you write a different one on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, and come Saturday or come Friday, you say "Tomorrow you die" because you're planning on killing that person on Saturday. How would I write "Hello, darling"? Oh, dear. I think it might depend on who the darling is. Hello, darling. That's how I would write it. I tend to be kind of vertical. I'm very lazy. Darling, and I won't be able to read it. I can't read my own handwriting. So it's it really, really sucks being me. Luckily, I don't write anything that needs to be reread or rewritten or re-understood. I um, I do make little notes for myself. Clean bathroom. Well, I might as well just keep the pen capped because, first of all, I won't clean the bathroom, and if I was able to reread what I wrote, I'll just still not clean the bathroom. Doesn't help making a list of things to do. Yesterday, I wrote, go to the post office. Well, I didn't go to the post. Those people out here that are expecting package from me, I have one extra thing I have to do before I send out the packages, and it is to try to take out. Someone in Finland wants this piece of hard rubber for their broken feed, and I'm trying to extract. Here now I can finally. Hopefully, this is going to fit. I was going to send him two, but anyway, he may end up with only one. Finland, yeah. He's a friend of mine who is a very talented artist, and I met him in Minnesota 2 summers ago, and then I met him I met him in a year ago, almost this weekend in LA. He was an artist in residence at the Tom of Finland Foundation, and someone had given him a little wall ladies pen, ring top pen, and in trying to get it to work, he broke the feed. So I'm going to send him this along with a rubber sack, and hopefully he'll be able to slide it in and make it work. I see this feed has a slight downward tilt to it, which may work with his nib that he puts in it. He may have to heat this and bend that up a little bit. See, this is the tricky part of trying to find the right part for someone who lives on the other side of the goddamn planet. The farthest place I've sent a pen to, I might have sent one to Japan, but I can't remember. Heat set it. Well, teaching someone how to heat set something is not very easy either. I could direct them to a YouTube video or something. The thing is, this may slide right in to his section, and it may be too fat. These are all sort of finished by hand. They're not going to be the same. Let's see if I can knock this one out. This is my knockout block. Okay, came out. So these should be more or less the same size. See, this one is tighter in this section than this one. And this one in this section, this is pretty good. Anyway, I'll send him both of these. And he can see, one is longer as well. I mean, it's going to be sort of a crap. Well, measuring the circumference, you know, all of this sounds good, like a good idea, but so I send him all 3 of these. this gets tight right there. It's really tight. So I think trying to cram this and a nib into this hole is not going to work. Anyway, I think sending him 2 would be fine. And I'll just cross my fingers that one of these will work. And I hope somewhere in my collection of feeds, I have ones that I can use to go in these things. You know, when it comes time for me to finally try to fix all the pens I have to fix, I hope I have the parts for them. Is there any more in here? No, that was it. He could send me the pen of the, it's just sending anything outside of this country. It took like 2 months it took 3 days for the pen to get from here to Brussels. And from Brussels, the Brussels post office to this guy's street in Brussels took 2 months. So I don't know. And then each day, you know, I am afraid that all of these, and it was $1,000 worth of pens, that they're all lost. So it's really frustrating. He went to the post office. It had to do with customs, because they were coming from the United States and going to a foreign country. Then customs gets their little fingers all over it. Yeah, insurance doesn't necessarily help. It's very strange. Kim in this room wanted me to send him some pens one day, and he was very happy to send me money and everything else. But I thought what I would do is, because I didn't want to have something lost in the mail for months. My ex-boyfriend's husband is from Denmark, and I thought, well, I'll just give Jens the pens and have Jens send them from Denmark when he gets off the airplane to Kim. And I thought that would be a wise way to do it. Or if I can send any of these things to one person in Europe, I think sending packages from one country in the European Union to another doesn't require so much trauma. But it involves, you know, me finding a mule who's heading to Europe. And I know a lot of people that travel. My ex-boyfriend was just in Germany for a trade show. So if I had a bunch of packages that were going to 3 or 4 European addresses, I could have had him go to the post office one day and send them all. But I think that's what I'd like to do. Finland, though, I don't know a lot of people that are going to Finland. Maybe what I'll ask Trister, the guy that's getting these feeds, does he know anyone? He knows a lot of people from around the world, and if he knows someone that's in the United States now that's planning on traveling to Finland or traveling to Europe and is willing to take a package with them, that might be a easier way to do it. I tried to send a book that I had made to Scotland, and it was like $25 postage to send this book to Scotland. And I thought, that's ridiculous. So I told the guy that wanted to buy this from me, he said, I tell you what, I'm going to send you $100 and you include some sketches that you did, some original drawings. And I thought, well, that sounds like a good idea. And I just haven't gotten back to him about it. I should probably send him an email saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so lazy. But I certainly have $100 worth of drawings that I could send him. And they're not expensive drawings. They're like $10 each. So, but at least it'll make the cost of the customs and the postage. Like Kim also had talked about the idea of he had other pen collectors that would probably be willing to buy the pens that Kim didn't want. So by sending 20 pens rather than one, postage will be the same. I'll be able to, the cost of each pen, you won't add $50 to the cost of a pen. You'll have $50 spread out between 10 pens. So that was another thought that we had. But all of this requires me not being lazy. That's the hard part. Anyone else have anything else to say about my original plan for my my handwriting fun seminar game thing? Let me know in the comments below. And I think it'll be fun. I just have to come up with an interesting description and an interesting, when is it due? I'm probably not going to do this seminar until January, but of next year. But I think I could try it out here in my building someday. We have open studios coming up in May, where I could have a pen, 2 or 3 pens on a table, and ask the people that come by in my building to write 3 different sentences based on these characters, and see if it works, see if people actually can, without too much trauma, come up with 3 different ways to write a sentence. On the YouTube thing, I think I'd like to do it maybe next week. Give me a chance to schedule it with the people that are interested in doing it. And I think I can come up with 3 people right now using my little memory banks that are willing to try it out with me, but maybe having a few other people in the group would be fun. So anyway, I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a fun way to exercise your hand, exercise your brain, and having it be kind of fun on top of it. And maybe the sentence, tomorrow you die, you could decide how you will convey that message using Miss Scarlett's language or Professor Plum's language. Here you're telling You're telling your victim that you will kill them tomorrow. How are you going to word that if you were Professor Plum? He might be more exact. He might say, you've got 16 hours and 37 minutes to live, you bastard. That's what he might write. Miss Scarlet might come up with different language. But I think that all of this sounds like fun to me. He would draw a picture. Yes, I would draw. I'd draw the picture of their dead body in the conservatory with a candlestick sticking out of their cranium. How would I draw that? Here's the victim. I'll make him Mr. Green with here's his cigarette holder. +4 is his shoes. There's his tassel. Tassel of his dinner jacket, his smoking jacket. Here's his bow tie. Here's his XX nose, mouth. And here's the conservatory with the potted palms. The orchids. The watering can. Spout. Okay, I have to find, I don't have to, but I'm going to find it. Clifton Webb smoking jacket. Clifton Webb smoking jacket. No, Webb. God's sake. Webb. Clifton Webb was this character actor who I think thought himself a leading man. Clifton Webb tassel. Okay. God damn it. Anyway, Clifton Webb comes in and says to his tailor, after he looks at himself in the mirror, that the tassels are entirely the wrong length. And you just want to clobber him. You want to knock him right out. Clifton Webb smoking short. I'll try for short. God damn it. Well, anyway, you'll find him. So anyway, here's how I would, here's the candlestick. Here's the blood splatter. The cast off blood splatter. I hit him 3 times with the candlestick. Damn it. Mr. Green in the conservatory with the candlestick. Tomorrow. This will be the newspaper with the tomorrow's date on it. Tomorrow you die. There. Should I have the candle in the candlestick? Why not? Here's the candle, and it's still lit. Just like his cigarette lighter. Let me just see if I can find that thing. Clifton Webb. It's a fashion. I'll show you what he. Here's what Clifton Webb.
Did you tell my kids I was a moron? I most assuredly did not. But, Mr. King, if you wish it kept a secret, you should not act like one. I have half a mind to punch you right in the nose, just on general principles. It takes half a mind to resort to such measures. Who are you?
That's Clifton Webb. And you want to punch him in the nose.
It should strike me here.
Here we go.
Knees lower, lower, so that when I walk, it'll sway. As it is now, it just bubbles.
It sways.
It should strike me here at the knees, lower, lower, so that when I walk, it'll sway. As it is now, it just bubbles.
See? Don't you want to just punch him in the face? Clifton Webb. So there you go. Add to shopping cart, $1 million. Original Pierre Gustafson drawing. Oh, I have to sign it. Here. Bye, everyone.